My name is Robert. I'm 58 years old. There was a time when this house was full of noise. Margaret used to hum softly in the kitchen while washing dishes. Sometimes I would stand in the hallway just to listen. My son Daniel would come home late, drop his keys too hard on the table, and shout, "Dad, you awake?" Back then, I complained about the noise. Now, I would give anything to hear it again. 5 years ago, I held my wife's hand in a hospital room. Cancer had made her fragile, almost transparent. When she took her last breath, the room didn't erupt with drama. It became quiet. Too quiet. 2 years later, I stood under gray skies at the cemetery again. This time it was my son. A wet highway. A truck that didn't stop in time. The officer's voice still echoes in my head. After Daniel's funeral, people filled my house for a week. Food, flowers, condolences. Then the door stopped ringing. Silence settled permanently. I didn't fall apart. That's what everyone imagines grief looks like, collapse. Mine looked like routine. I paid bills. I cut the grass. I answered emails. But something inside me shut down. I stopped cooking proper meals. Coffee became breakfast. Sugar became comfort. Sleep became optional. I told myself I was managing. I wasn't. Then one morning, my hand trembled. It was a Tuesday. I remember because the trash bins were still by the curb. I poured coffee into my blue ceramic mug, Margaret's favorite. As I lifted it, I noticed the surface ripple slightly. At first, I blamed the heat. Then I noticed my fingers. They were shaking. Not dramatically. Not violently. But enough. I held my breath and tried to steady them. They didn't stop. A cold wave went through my chest. I set the mug down slowly and stared at my hand as if it belonged to someone else. Lack of sleep, I muttered. The night before, I had maybe 4 hours. But the next morning it happened again. And the next. Within a week, the tremor wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. I began observing myself constantly. When signing my name at the bank, shaving, using a screwdriver, subtle but real. Then the thought came. Not again. I had buried my wife. I had buried my son. I could not handle burying my own health. Like most men my age, I searched online. Within minutes, a word dominated my thoughts: Parkinson's. Articles. Resting tremor. Stiffness. Slowed movement. I sat in my chair, hands on my knees. They trembled slightly. My breathing became shallow. I stood and walked across the room, analyzing every step. Was my arm swinging normally? Was I slower than before? I went to the mirror. Was my face less expressive? Fear does something dangerous. It turns small sensations into evidence. That night I didn't sleep. Every twitch under the blanket made panic surge. I imagined losing control. Struggling to button my shirt. Becoming dependent. Losing independence felt like the final blow. For the next 2 weeks, I lived in quiet anxiety. What made it worse, the tremor seemed stronger when I was afraid. Stronger after coffee. Stronger when hungry. Stronger after reading symptoms. I ignored the patterns. I was fixated on catastrophe. What I didn't realize, grief keeps the nervous system in survival mode. Chronic stress increases cortisol. Cortisol destabilizes blood sugar. Adrenaline activates muscles. Caffeine amplifies adrenaline. Sleep deprivation reduces neurological stability. And I was doing all of it: 4 cups of coffee daily, 5 hours of sleep, irregular meals, unprocessed grief. My body wasn't failing. It was overloaded. I didn't know it yet. One evening, the tremor felt stronger than usual. I was in Daniel's old room, holding one of his framed photos. My hand shook enough to rattle the glass. Something inside me broke. I sat on his bed and cried harder than I had in years. "I can't lose myself too," I whispered. The next morning, I called a doctor. Sitting in the waiting room felt like awaiting a verdict. I described the tremor, my life, everything about Margaret and Daniel. He didn't interrupt. He asked detailed questions. Does the tremor occur at rest or mainly when holding something? Does it improve when distracted? Is there stiffness? Slowness? Balance issues? I realized something important. Focusing intensely on my hand made it shake more. Relaxing softened it. Blood work and basic neurological tests were ordered. The waiting days felt endless. But I began observing patterns scientifically. After coffee, tremor stronger; after missed meals, tremor stronger; poor sleep, tremor stronger; calming walks, tremor softer. That data gave me a small sense of control. Results came back. No significant neurological red flags. No clear Parkinson's signs at this stage. Instead, low vitamin B12, borderline thyroid function, elevated stress markers, fluctuating blood glucose. The doctor explained calmly, there are many types of tremors: essential tremor, physiological tremor, anxiety-induced, metabolic. Not all tremors mean degenerative dice. Mine reduced when I relaxed. That was critical. He said something that shifted everything. Your nervous system has been living in survival mode for years. He was right. After losing my family, I never processed grief fully. I suppressed it. Suppression keeps the body tense. Chronic tension manifests physically. Shaking. Muscle tightness. Palpitations. Brain fog. And at 58, the body demands respect. I decided to change. Not dramatically. Strategically. Week 1 to 2. Reduced coffee from 4 cups to 1. Headaches followed. Irritability too. But by day 10, the tremor intensity decreased slightly. Week 3 to 4. Structured breakfast with protein. Eggs. Greek yogurt. Nuts. Oatmeal with seeds. No more sugar spikes. Midday crashes disappeared. Blood sugar stability reduced adrenaline fluctuations. Week 5 to 6. Sleep discipline. No screens after 10 p.m. Dim lighting. Magnesium glycinate as recommended. Deep breathing before bed. Sleep increased to nearly 7 hours. Tremor frequency reduced further. Week 7 to 8. B12 supplementation under supervision. Energy improved. Brain fog lifted. Hands steadier. But the most powerful change wasn't physical. It was emotional. I joined a grief support group. The first meeting, my hands trembled while introducing myself. I lost my wife, I said. My son too. The room stayed quiet. Not uncomfortable. Understanding. As I spoke openly, something loosened inside my chest. And something surprising happened. My hands steadied. Expression reduced tension. Release reduced adrenaline. 2 months later, the tremor was occasional. 3 months later, some days it was gone. Do I still experience mild shaking during stress? Yes. But I no longer jump to catastrophe. Here is what I want anyone over 50 to understand. If your hands begin to shake, do not panic immediately. But do not ignore it either. Check. Caffeine intake. Sleep quality. Stress levels. Blood sugar stability. Vitamin B12. Thyroid function. Medication side effects. And yes, rule out neurological causes properly. But do not let fear diagnose you before a doctor does. After losing my wife and son, I thought trembling hands meant I was losing the last thing I had, myself. Instead, it was my body asking for care I had postponed for years. Today, when I hold Margaret's blue mug, the surface of the coffee is still. And even on days when a slight tremor appears, I don't see it as the end. I see it as information. A reminder. To sleep. To eat properly. To grieve honestly. To live deliberately. I have already survived the worst losses of my life. I will not lose myself to fear. Sometimes, after 50, the body whispers before it screams. And sometimes, listening early changes everything.